Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, air, restoration, and flood services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Two members of San Diego's congressional delegation say President Trump's tariffs are already hurting the local economy. KPBS reporter John Carroll says the lawmakers and some local business leaders had stark warnings of what's to come if the tariffs stay as they are now.
The setting for this morning's news conference said a lot about the message these lawmakers and business people had. The Cesar Chavez Park Pier, part of the port of San Diego. The signs they were holding left no doubt about the message.
Tariffs are an additional tax paid by importers and consumers for products manufactured abroad. The higher the tariff, the higher the tax, and the more money Americans pay.
He talked tariffs in the presidential campaign, and by April, President Trump had started talking numbers. Since then, they've been a moving target, on and off, with plenty of pauses and delays. But as of August 1st, tariffs went into effect on many of America's trading partners. Representative Sarah Jacobs says the tariffs are hurting San Diego workers, from those on the dock to those on the farm.
Every container that doesn't come in means fewer shifts, less overtime, less take-home pay for our workers. For our cross-border manufacturing sector, tariffs on steel, aluminum, and electronics don't just raise costs for the companies. They slow down production, delay shipments, and reduce hours for workers.
I'm Dan Clark, and I'm the founder and CEO of Dan Clark Audio.
Dan Clark founded his San Diego company in 2012. They make high-end headphones. He talked about the effect the tariffs will have on his small business, which sells headphones here and in 90 countries around the world.
Domestically, our prices will rise and demand will fall, which then means we have to produce fewer products, and it means jobs are at risk. Internationally, the situation's even worse. We're currently paying 50% more for our parts and products than any of our competitors in the world would have to pay for the exact same thing.
Representatives from a local trade group, along with the San Diego Regional Chamber of Commerce, had similar dire predictions. All this while a federal appeals court weighs the finding of the Court of International Trade, which found that Trump's tariffs are illegal. If the appeals court agrees, the next and final stop is the U.S. Supreme Court. John Carroll, KPBS News.
We reached out for comment to the only Republican in San Diego congressional delegation, Representative Darrell Issa, but we didn't hear back by our deadline. As businesses navigate the impact of tariffs, economists are warning consumers about sneakflation. It's a tactic that involves various forms of hidden cost increases designed to catch consumers off guard. This includes increasing minimum purchase requirements to qualify for free shipping, or additional service charges at restaurants that aren't included in menu prices. University of San Diego economics professor Alan Jin says while there are protections for consumers in California, customers need to stay vigilant.
These are not listed on the menu prices, but they're added at the end. And so in a sneaky way, then they've upped the price without you being aware of it. You got to notice things in terms of the terms of deals. And one way that you can check on this is to look at your bills.
He also warns businesses may employ shrinkflation to absorb increased costs. That's when prices remain the same for products, but the quantity received is smaller.
Temperature-wise, not too many differences tonight, dropping down into the mid-60s, continuing to see some of those intermittent clouds, especially early into the morning. The marine layer is still a factor. We have a little bit of a roller coaster to expect as we head into the rest of the week and the weekend as far as our temperatures. I'll break down exactly what to expect coming up.
Well, it looks like a perk for electric vehicle drivers will be going away. Clean air vehicle stickers could expire if federal leaders don't act. KPBS reporter Jacob Ayer says that would mean solo EV drivers won't be able to use the carpool lanes anymore.
Sonia Sevchikova drives alone in the HOV lane to go to work. Soon she may not be able to, and that could have an impact on the car she drives.
If I was to buy a new car, it would probably impact my decision about whether I'm going to drive fully electric car again.
That's because the special clean air vehicle decal program is set to expire at the end of September in California. EV and hybrid vehicle drivers have been able to purchase the stickers from the DMV since 2001.
And then that sticker's good for 4 years to where you can use the HOV lane as a single driver or a single person in a car. You don't have to have other people in the vehicle.
Elaine Borsett is president of the Electric Vehicle Association of San Diego.
So it's a big perk for people that are in areas, especially like San Diego or LA or San Francisco where traffic is an issue.
This morning, California Congressman Mark DeSaulnier introduced the HOV Lane Exemption Reauthorization Act. It would allow states the option to grant electric and alternative fuel vehicles use of HOV lanes through 2031. In a statement emailed to KPBS, DMV spokesperson Jonathan Groveman said, "The federal government's decision to eliminate the program will affect hundreds of thousands of California drivers." He said the state is now looking at other options to provide the same service to Californians. Lindsay Buckley is with the California Air Resources Board. She says the decal program incentivized people to buy EVs.
A lot of Californians have come to know that if you drive a zero-emission vehicle, you get this special access in the carpool lane. And so we believe that it's helped nudge folks along towards considering a zero-emission vehicle, which is really important for our overall air quality and climate change goals here in California.
The DMV says more than 400,000 vehicles have these stickers in California. Borsett is worried about the impact of them going away.
With that gone, it could hurt EV adoption in the state.
If Congress fails to act on that legislation before the end of September, the stickers will expire on October 1st, according to the California DMV. Jacob Ayer, KPBS News.
The Imperial Valley grows some of the sweetest sugar beets in the world, but this summer could mark the region's last harvest as the valley's only processing plant for sugar beets prepares to close for good. KPBS Imperial Valley reporter Corey Suzuki says county officials have one last hope to keep the industry alive.
The beet is bigger than a football. It's oval and a dusty, gnarled brown. Ben Abadi III cradles it in his arm and slices it open, chopping through the beet's rough exterior and revealing a sweet white core.
And hopefully this is kind of what goes to the factory. Okay. Limit the amount of green that goes in there, and you just have a raw sugar beet.
We're standing in a field to the west of El Centro. Around us, rows and rows of leafy green sugar beets poke from the soil. Abadi's family has been farming here for generations. The Imperial Valley is one of the best places in the world to grow sugar beets. There's good soil and plenty of sunlight, and there's the Spreckles Sugar Factory, the last beet sugar processing plant in California, which turns beets into sugar by the truckload right here in the valley.
I'll do this for you, and we can see how sweet it is. And you take a bite of it, you don't want to eat it, but it's still fairly sweet. You can taste the sugar.
But this could be the Imperial Valley's last sugar beet harvest. This year, the company that owns the Spreckles factory, Southern Minnesota Beet Sugar Cooperative, announced that they're planning to close it down and move their operations back to the Midwest. That means beet farmers in the valley will have nowhere for their crops to go.
We're already in an economy that's struggling a little bit, and to lose a major crop is not good news.
John Hawk chairs the Imperial County Board of Supervisors. He says more than 400 workers will lose their jobs at the Spreckles factory alone.
But more than what we lost as a county is what our unemployment figures will look like when you lose 400, 500 jobs. And it's not just losing those jobs. You look at all the outside jobs.
Hawk says the closure will also create broader ripples affecting truck drivers, equipment operators, and other workers who support the industry. That's a big deal in the Imperial Valley, a region which has the highest unemployment rate in the state and where agriculture is the second largest employer. To be clear, it's not that there won't be demand for sugar beets. The crop is huge in the United States. More than half of all the sugar made in the U.S. comes from sugar beets as opposed to sugar cane. The challenge is that the federal government places strict limits on the sugar market.
At least since the Great Depression and the Roosevelt administration, there have been public policies that have sought to protect or stabilize or maintain the prosperity of American agriculture.
Stephen Kafka is a retired agroecologist at UC Davis. He says the way it works is that the federal government gives out beet sugar allocations, or quotas, to a small number of specific sugar processing companies. And then those companies decide which farms get to grow sugar beets. Kafka says those policies are meant to support the economies of rural communities by giving U.S. industries an advantage over international competitors. But when a company like Southern Minnesota decides to consolidate its operations, that can hurt places like the Imperial Valley.
That's their intention now, is to close this factory and remove sugar production back to Minnesota. They are unwilling to sell the factory and the right to produce sugar to local interests.
A representative from Southern Minnesota did not agree to an interview with KPBS. In a statement, they said it was a difficult decision, but that the 100-year-old plant was too expensive to maintain. County officials aren't giving up on sugar beets yet. This summer, the Board of Supervisors went to Washington, D.C. to see if Congress would give them the rights to build a new sugar plant in the Imperial Valley. But they say it's going to be an uphill battle. Here's Hawk again.
When we went to Washington, the answer was it's going to be very tough. The sugar lobby is very, very controlled. They're not about to just give up market share.
Back in the Agape family fields, Armando Gonzalez is getting ready for an afternoon shift. Gonzalez has been hauling sugar beets since he was 18. His family's company drives the trucks that catch beets from rumbling harvesters and carry them north to the Spreckles factory. His family has been working with the Abates for over 40 years.
This is about 80% of my income. We're doing 50 loads a day, and from one day to the next day, you know, there's not going to be any sugar beets next year. So this is huge.
Gonzalez says he's heard the rumors about the county's efforts to keep the sugar industry alive. But right now, that's not something he and his family can rely on.
Well, I'm going to try to stay busy hauling bottom dumps, construction, trucking, and whatever I can get, whatever I can do to, you know, stay afloat. We'll see, day by day. Right now, I want a vacation after we finish this long, rough season, and then we'll see.
For now, Gonzalez says he's planning to finish out this year's harvest. After August, they'll see what comes next. In El Centro, Corey Suzuki, KPBS News.
I'm Amna Navaz. Tonight on the News Hour, European leaders insist on security guarantees for Ukraine ahead of a summit between Presidents Trump and Putin. That's coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
In the streets and parking lots around Mission Bay, RVs and large vans often set up camp. It's been happening since the pandemic. But in our next Why It Matters segment, Voice of San Diego reporter Mariana Martinez-Barba says that's coming to an end.
The city is doing more to stop RVs from parking overnight in Mission Bay. That's because a new place for people to park safely overnight opened nearby. It's part of the Safe Parking program. Now that people can stay at this lot near the airport, police are starting to ticket some people in RVs for being parked where they aren't supposed to be. The enforcement crackdown comes after years of concerns from residents. Since the pandemic, residents have complained about a growing number of vehicles staying for months on end along East Mission Bay Drive and surrounding parking lots. Some of these RVs include people experiencing homelessness, while others are just taking advantage of the free parking. It's a tough issue to tackle. City Council President Joe LaCava thought about restriping Mission Bay Drive to create diagonal parking so RVs won't fit, or installing metered parking. A federal lawsuit filed in 2017 also made things hard. The lawsuit challenged the city for ticketing people living in their vehicles. But that lawsuit was settled this year, and the safe parking lot opened up, allowing police to crack down. The program has a capacity for 190 vehicles, but only 49 vehicles are enrolled. The challenge is getting more people to go to safe parking. San Diego Captain Steve Shablowski from the Neighborhood Policing Division said they've made 66 referrals since the program's opening, but Mission Bay still has a lot of RVs. Some people say driving to the lot daily makes gas too pricey. Others say the lot's hours from 6 p.m. to 7 a.m. don't work with their schedules. They are expected to move their car in and out of the lot each morning. So it's not clear if RVs will really leave Mission Bay, as many campers would rather stay put. I'm Mariana Martinez Barba for Voice of San Diego, and that's why it matters.
Jimmy Carter said a person should have a goal of complete agape, or self-sacrificial love. But he said the most that can be expected from a society was simple justice. KPBS's Amita Sharma says while individual examples of agape abound, there is also the opposite.
When masked armed ICE agents raided a San Diego restaurant in May, people gathered around and yelled at them as they detained workers. Agape. When members of the First Unitarian Universalist Church of San Diego noticed people going hungry during the pandemic, they opened a food pantry. Today, they feed more than 500 families each Saturday. Agape. Justine Sullivan is the first minister of the church.
Martin Luther King kind of famously said that power without love is abusive, and love without power is anemic. And I think, that's important, right? Love as agape, and we just only have one word for love, so we have to borrow from the Greeks. But the agape is the lived expression of love. Love for the world, I would extend it to all living beings and the planet herself, but love for each other.
Here comes the sun. Sullivan says she sees people's kindness and real love for one another every day. But as a society, Sullivan believes the United States is losing agape. She cites deportations, extreme inequality, and the shutdown of most USAID programs, which is predicted to cost millions of lives worldwide. She says all of this changes us and our character.
I see it every day in the way that people speak to one another. It's so coarse. And that's why I think turning on one another is so dangerous. It's not just unpleasant. I think it actually does harm, because what we're doing is we're letting the hate come in because we've been given permission.
To recover agape, Sullivan says we need to jettison tribalism and love and care for one another based on our shared humanity alone. It's the basis for justice and democracy. Amita Sharma, KPBS News.
The political standoff in Texas is showing no signs of cooling down. The Texas Senate passed a redistricting bill that favors Republicans, but without a quorum in the state House, the new congressional maps cannot advance. California is also moving to do the same, only in favor of Democrats. Jake Otta breaks down the latest developments.
The nationwide battle over congressional maps is heating up. Redistricting in Texas stalled after Democratic legislators fled the state. Governor Newsom's proposal for new maps is also facing challenges here in California. Texas Republicans are trying to redraw their state's congressional map to give Republicans more seats in Congress. Governor Newsom is threatening to do the same in California to give Democrats more seats, but here it won't be so simple. In Texas, the legislature draws congressional maps. In California, voters approved an independent commission more than a decade ago to do the job. That means Newsom and the legislature can't just redraw the maps like they can in Texas. Instead, they have to hold a special election this fall, asking voters to approve a temporary change to allow new maps. Newsom has said the state would go back to the independent commission after the 2030 census. Republican Assembly member Carl DeMaio called Newsom's plans unconstitutional and illegal. He said in a press release Texas was told by the federal government to reconsider its map, and no such directive was given to California. Democratic Senator Catherine Blakespear said in a statement that President Trump and Republicans in Texas are trying to subvert our democracy with their redistricting plan. She said California has no choice but to level the playing field. Control of the House of Representatives is at stake, and Trump's agenda hangs in the balance. Right now, Republicans hold just a few more House seats than the Democrats. In 2026, this redistricting battle could tip the balance.
That was Jake Otta with that report. Public Matters is a partnership with KPBS, iNews Source, and Voice of San Diego. You can see more of our stories at kpbs.org/Public Matters. Vista City Council has approved $3.5 million for critical repairs to the city-owned Wave Water Park. But last night's meeting got heated over the issue of long-term maintenance and whether to turn the park's management over to a third party. KPBS North County reporter Alexander Nguyen has the story.
Council members agreed the 30-year water park needs safety updates and some cosmetic improvements. They want to fix things like the slides, the pool decks, and all the wet areas. But then there's also the maintenance for the next decade. That's estimated to cost $360,000 a year. The question is how to pay for it. Mayor John Franklin says letting a private entity take over management of the park could be a way to save it.
Right now, we're in shortfall every year just on the required maintenance, and we're losing $1 million. So when a private operator mentioned to me that they believe that we could turn that $1 million annual loss into $1 million annual profit, I said that's the money we need to reinvest into the facilities to make sure the wave is protected for generations to come.
Franklin says the city is not selling the wave. He just wants to explore the option of having a third-party operator manage it. There was some resistance from other council members on that issue. Ultimately, the council directed staff to prepare a request for proposal and bring it back at a later date for discussion. In the newsroom, Alexander Nguyen, KPBS News.
It's about to get easier to access the coast and inland trails at Borderfield State Park in Imperial Beach. State park officials say vehicle access will resume on weekends starting this Saturday. Flooding has prevented visitors from driving into the park for the past 2 years. John Fenestiel is the executive director of the nonprofit Friends of International Friendship Park. Friendship Park is located within Borderfield State Park.
The reopening of the vehicle road makes it possible for public in San Diego who want to see this site. It's a remarkable view of undeveloped coastline.
On Saturday, the nonprofit will host an event at Borderfield State Park, uniting the border community through art, immigrant rights advocacy, and faith.
Well, we're going to see a little bit of a cooling trend as we head into the rest of the week and into the weekend, but then temperatures will start to warm back up. It's a little bit of a roller coaster for some of us. Now, the marine layer is still a factor, so expect those coastal clouds and fog to continue in the morning hours. As far as what to expect for tonight, temperatures dropping down into the 60s across the board along the coast, 66 in Oceanside and San Diego. As we head into some of our mountain and desert regions, a little bit warmer, 74 in Borrego Springs, 64 down in Mount Laguna. As we look ahead to tomorrow, plenty of sunshine until you get to the coast. We're in the upper 70s in Oceanside, mid 70s for somewhere like San Diego. We're at least below 110 for Borrego Springs, barely at 109, but hey, we'll take it. Mid 70s for Mount Laguna as well. Let's talk about that cooling trend that I was mentioning, our 5-day outlook along the coast. Not too much variation here, really. We're in the upper 70s. We go down to the mid 70s. By Monday, we're back in the upper 70s. It's as we move further inland that we can start to see more of a difference. 84 Thursday, down to 80 by Saturday, and then we're back up to 84 by the time we get to Monday. Into our mountain regions, things looking even more as of a difference as far as our cooling trend there. We're in the mid 70s for your Thursday. Plenty of sunshine across the board. That is certainly not an issue. We get down to the upper 60s by the time we get to Saturday. Take a look at that low. We're in the upper 50s, but then we warm right back up. We're back to 76 by the time we get to our Monday. The low still a little bit cooler. Taking a look at our desert regions, well, we're not getting out of the triple digits, that's for sure. But at least we do cool down from 109 down to 103. And then we kind of stay there for a couple days. So rather than that roller coaster, you just have kind of the downward decline. For KPBS News, I'm AccuWeather's Anna Azalian.
Gen Z uses digital savvy for just about everything, but the ease of online transactions could leave them open to scams. Karen Kafa has more on how scammers are targeting young consumers and college students.
Gen Z has digital savvy, but may lack the experienced eye that can spot a scam.
Gen Z, their digital fluency is their superpower, and it's also their blind spot.
In 2024, the Federal Trade Commission says younger people ages 20 to 29 reported losing money to fraud and scams more often than older people ages 70 to 79.
That's why it's so important to let them know, hey, there's going to be emails that come to your inbox that might not be from who they say they are. That deal online for books might not be a real website.
With members of Gen Z headed to college campuses and responsible for more financial decisions on their own, Margarita Alvarez of Wells Fargo advises young consumers to verify who they trust, especially online.
Make sure that they're being very mindful of the interactions that they're making with any type of merchants, ensuring that they're viable, trusted institutions.
The Better Business Bureau's Melanie McGovern says text phishing and imposter scams that claim to be from a student financial aid office or offer a scholarship or promise a part-time job are popular among fraudsters and can swipe personal and financial data.
If it's something that's unfamiliar to you, you didn't sign up for it, the best thing to do is just delete it, get it off your phone so there's no temptation to go back and click on a link.
Also popular, rental scams. Asking for a credit card or a money transfer in order to see the apartment in person for the first time can be a red flag.
In Washington, I'm Karen Kafa.
Well, all season, the Padres have been chasing the Dodgers in the NL West, but that changed this afternoon. The Padres beat the Giants 11-1, and it's not just a series sweep. The win gives the Padres a half-game lead in the division. The Dodgers can tie it up with a win tonight in Anaheim, and the timing is perfect. The Padres and Dodgers will begin a 3-game series Friday in LA. Here is a look at what we are working on for tomorrow in the KPBS newsroom. NPR's Morning Edition has analysis on this year's Kennedy Center Honors announcement. What has changed since President Trump took over the honors? And KPBS Midday Edition is rounding up all the best arts and culture events around town for the weekend preview. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Well, thanks so much for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Good night.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, air, restoration, and flood services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit BillHowe.com. And by the Conrad Previs Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. By viewers like you. Thank you.